So this is an interesting one. Given what the Big Ten, let's face it, TJ, since Tony Petitti has become the commissioner of the Big Ten, they haven't exactly had the most perfect relationship, so to speak. Been quite a few waves. That relationship a little rocky, and we saw it in 23. And according to this is a legit regent, right? Regent Bernstein, who, by the way, is somebody that I've actually met, full disclosure, a couple of times back when I was in at the university, and he knows his shit, right? He's not somebody that we would call it, or put here, but it was an ESPN article that talked about this, and Mark Bernstein, who's the chairman of the Board of Regents, talking about to the Associated Press that Petitti attempted to strong arm Michigan in a move he said calls into question his continued leadership of the Big Ten Conference about the $2.4 billion equity deal. So that's what the Big Ten was trying to pressure Michigan to get on board with the other 16 schools that were in favor of the equity deal. So,
well, let's get people caught up
for sure.
Well, let's get people caught up, right? So, we didn't really cover it too much. We covered it one time.
Mm-hmm.
So essentially, there was an equity deal on the table by was it UC and what was it, John? UC,
California, private equity. Mm-hmm.
Yep, pension fund, right? And essentially, every school in the conference was on board with this except two. The two schools were, of course, Michigan, leaders and best, and USC. USC did not want to sign the deal because they were a tier 2 payment, which I'll break down what that means. But essentially Michigan was of the position, well, this doesn't benefit us because by signing this deal, John, it extended the grant of rights from 2036 to 2034, which has significance, which we'll talk about with Jordan Acker's comments. Okay. So what's interesting is here's the payout, John. So the tier 1 schools are Michigan, Ohio State, and Penn State at $190 million. How
about that? Penn State in the top 3 there.
That's right. 155 million would go to USC and Oregon. And then every other school, little brother included, would get $110 million, aka your bottom feeder schools.
Your poverty programs.
Apparently Washington was actually surprised to hear that they're only getting 110 million. But
is that the school, do you think? Because there was a school, somebody said,
I know.
No, wait, we're just like Rutgers.
Right. I don't know if it was Washington or little brother or who it was, but yeah, somebody made a comment that they're surprised they're in the same bracket as Rutgers. But what's interesting is the UC investment company put out a statement saying that 18 institutions is the best path for Michigan. So now it appears everything's in pause until all 18 are on board. And this is a quote from UC Investments. The unity of the 18 Big Ten university members is key to the success of Big Ten enterprises. Now, what's interesting about that, John, is Michigan doesn't want to sign it. We know this. Now, Jordan Acker had some interesting comments before we get into Mark Bernstein breaking that down, because I think that's kind of the line in the sand, John. Jordan Acker goes, the possibility, and we've all been wanting this. Like, we gotta love what our regents are doing here, guys. The possibility of independence for football is certainly something to be considered. Not today, but at the end of the grant of rights in 2036. Meaning, John, and we can hit on it here. They want to take, Michigan is considering the Notre Dame path, which means your football team is independent, but the rest of your sports programs are in the Big Ten, another conference. It'd be Big Ten though. We have all wanted Michigan to go independent. This would allow, if Michigan did go that path, they'd be able to get their own TV rights deal for their football team, and then their other sports would still get Big Ten rights for the remainder of sports. John, before we get into Mark Bernstein and him crossing the line, what's your thoughts on that position? Because we haven't talked about that yet or discussed it.
The independent possibility?
The independent angle, yeah. I think we need to hit on that for sure.
For the longest time, I was always the person that was like, hey, Notre Dame, you want to join the Big Ten.
Yeah, me too.
Like I always thought it was a little ridiculous that you have these schools sitting out during conference championship week. I don't love that. This is now the second, if this is true, and I believe Bernstein, that Michigan was being pressured to accept the equity deal.
And that's what I wanted to get into next. But go on. You're fine. Hit it. Go
this
ahead.
is now multiple offenses where I think that the Big Ten and the Big Ten commissioner failed to advocate for one of their largest programs in the entire conference.
Yep.
It's not the first time. And, you know, people might say we want special treatment. Hell yeah, we want special treatment. Michigan isn't the same as Rutgers. Michigan isn't the same as Iowa. Michigan is a global, you know, Garrison says we're a regional program. No, sir. Michigan is a global program. Michigan is a global brand with one of the largest amounts of fans around the world. It's not even, it's basically Michigan, Notre Dame. You could make an argument Alabama, Georgia have gotten to the point because of their national relevance the last 20 years. But Michigan, Notre Dame, I'll say it, Ohio State.
Yeah, we know.
Sure.
But
you know, I know a lot of people internationally who are Michigan fans. And maybe some of them I've talked into becoming Michigan fans. But my overall point is that Michigan is worthy of special treatment. And Michigan hasn't received anything close to that. In fact, the exact opposite in 2023, when the Big Ten punished Michigan for 3 games before the investigation had even really taken off with the Stallion stuff. Petiti just took it upon himself because every other school, their coaches were whining to him.
Yeah.
So the schools were like whining to, you know, privately to Petiti, hey, are you going to do something about this? Even after Michigan fired Connor Stallions, even after pretty much every school went to a huddle system, completely nullifying any signal advantage. Okay, let's punish them for 3 games. And that was just the beginning of how Michigan has been treated in the Petiti era of the Big Ten. Fox was not happy about that. I'm sure that Fox would be very high up in the line if Michigan were to go independent to do, you know, somewhere in the realm of $100 million deal.
Yeah.
If Notre Dame could get 60 to 70 from NBC, I think Michigan could probably put it up into that 9 figures.
Yeah, you'd get ESPN and Fox going for that one. You better believe you know the ESPN wants Michigan. Of course, ESPN will want Michigan. They'd want the SEC and Michigan. But what I love about it, John, and we'll again, I'll dig in more into the Bernstein angle and the whole Big Ten pressuring us. But what essentially, John, Michigan is tired of fucking dealing with the Big Ten shit. Is what this is. Michigan is essentially saying to the Big Ten, we don't need you. We really don't. So continue fucking with us, and we're gonna make it to where we fucking leave, bro. And then apparently, so to the Bernstein thing, which you've hit on, John. Apparently, and ESPN wrote an article per Bernstein. Okay, the Big Ten Conference Commissioner has threatened the University of Michigan with penalties if we do not approve this deal. And then what I love about what Bernstein says is nobody pushes around the University of Michigan ever. And I fucking love that, dude, because, and guess what? Guess how you know Michigan's not fucking around with that? Who backed out of the deal? Because all 18 institutions are not in.
The private equity
investment. That's right. You see investments. So Michigan's not playing around. We don't need the fucking money. Even though we get one of the largest pies of the money, we don't want to be locked into the grant of rights in 2046 because why? Michigan is considering independence in 2036. Okay. For any rivals who said Michigan would never, no, they've been discussing this since Signgate. This was a discussion then. It's only become more and more, I would say, a topic of discussion for Michigan. And we know this because now the regents are fucking saying it out loud that the time Michigan would consider this is 2036, which is, I think music to a lot of Michigan fans' ears, really. I mean, look, if we can make it work with the Big Ten, great. But if the Big Ten wants to keep fucking around and keep bowing to all these other schools in this fucking conference when they do not have the precedence to even do some of the things that they fucking have done, then good on Michigan to legitimately saying, we don't like, then fuck you. Like, we'll do it without you. Don't need you. We're not saying, like, Michigan's not saying, hey, you'll fail without us. But Michigan is saying you're not as valuable without us. And guess what? Argue that. They're not. And how do we know that? UC Investments is telling you we're not interested if Michigan and USC are not in this. John,
Exactly.
16 other schools are in this,
Mhm.
but it is not valuable to them if Michigan and USC are not. Think
Correct.
about that. You know what I mean?
Well, that's exactly. I mean, you look at the ratings that Michigan has pulled. You look at every time Michigan and Ohio State face each other, it's a 17 to 20 million viewer game minimum, and it's usually the most watched game of the season, or up there in like the top 2 or 3. And you look at that, like, of course it doesn't pencil, as we say in the investor world. Like, the deal, it doesn't pencil if you don't have Michigan and USC on board, because without that, you have, poverty programs like Ohio State and Penn State and others like that. And by the way, that's why Ohio State wants this deal, because they're in debt.
They are $30 million in debt.
Mm-hmm. So I just think it's obvious. Like, of course, Michigan.
Have the money, y'all. There's poor people around. With your broke ass.
I hate to see it, dude. Such a prestigious university like Ohio State being broke. Maybe they should call their boy Lex.
World's smallest violin. It is funny though that Ohio State fans on X have said thank you, Michigan. It's one of the only times I've seen Ohio State fans actually saying nice things.
So let's all right, then let's show some respect there, right? Because the Ohio State fan base has actually given Michigan credit here. So look, we took our shot at their university, but respect, because it is, the truth is too, like, yes, there's an influx of cash. Obviously, there's some benefit, but this locks Ohio State in that deal till 2046. Why the fuck would Ohio State want to do that? So Jordan Acker's right. His comments about it's a short-sighted deal. Like, do you guys understand how much money you're going to leave on the table in 2037? Because you want the money now. You are willing to sacrifice the greater good of your institution for the now and not the long-term gain. That's disgusting. And I will give credit here to our regions for being wise on this. I mean, they really are. They are the grown-ups in the room. USC would agree to this if they were a tier 1. They're not, so I mean, it's wild, but I mean, good on Michigan for one. I really appreciate them taking this public. I really appreciate Jordan Acker talking about, they're going to consider independence in 2036. I really appreciate Bernstein literally saying they are being threatened by the Big Ten because they're not getting this deal done, and fucking straight up saying this is a PR battle right now, John. Straight up saying nobody pushes Michigan around ever.